I'm
All
recording.
right.
I ain't playing no bullshit here.
There you go.
I got Ron Thomas, Speed Racer.
I
How you doing, brother?
am the real deal. I'm good, man. How you doing today?
I'm good. I was trying to think when I met you, and I was so confused because we met at Wind Down Wednesday, right? Was that
Wind Down Wednesday at the Dragonfly.
Dragon? But did I come with Tarsus, or were you with Tarsus? Or did we
Tarsus invited me to come. He says, my boy's birthday is out, so why don't you just come hang out? And I said, yeah, why not? I wasn't doing anything that night. So we met you and everything, and everything was great.
Oh, that was a blast. I got confused that day because I know we were all kind of there together, a bunch of us. I didn't know if I came with Tarsus, met you and I don't know what the hell. Oh, man, I love Tarsus. Yeah.
He's a good guy, man. Good guy. I haven't heard from him for so long.
I'm going to kick his ass. We normally do every year the Margarita Ball together. This year he passed.
Nice.
But we went to his wife's. Last year we went to his wife's, was it a surprise party? Which was wonderful.
Okay.
And then he invited me to the MMA fights at the arena. Me and him went. And,
Nice.
it was great. I was just talking to a friend of ours, a mutual friend. I posted it today, Mordecai Williams, and he owns Farm Sports.
I know Mordecai.
Yeah. So I love Mordecai, and I met Mordecai through Tarsus. And I was just thinking, I've known these two guys going on 2 decades now, how time flies.
I know. Time flies. That's the truth.
It's unbelievable how that worked out because Tarsus did. And when I started my clothing line, that's how I became really close with him. He helped design all my clothing line from top to bottom. Which was awesome. So
making you snazzy. So I see your videos and everything, and you're always on top of your game when it comes to the fashion thing.
I don't know what happened to me this last year. I went more athletic wear. I'm exhausted from fashion. When I travel,
yes.
But let's start with you and me and you. Well, not me. My father and you are you guys are car aficionados. I guess you would say you love cars. You work in the industry.
It's my passion.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Right. You work in the industry.
Yeah.
And we don't have to get involved with, what component.
No, I'm okay with it.
I'm okay
with it. But for me, I always tell people either you're a car guy or a car salesperson. Mm-hmm. I hate to be called a car salesperson because, the stigma, same thing like attorneys, the bottom feeders. But as a car guy, I conduct, that's what they say. And I conduct myself a little differently. And being as passionate as I am about cars, it makes it easier for me to help people place them in what they're looking for. If they're telling me driving dynamics, needs and benefits and all of that stuff. So I use my passion to help me become successful in my business.
Yeah, and I don't think there's anything worse for me as going to buy a car at a car dealership. That's no disrespect to you. I just get nuts with them, with the bullshit. The old timers like my father, my grandfather, they seem to like that back and forth.
Negotiating.
I don't have the patience for that. And I
don't.
I've called, even in front of my kids, car dealerships, jag-offs. I've threatened. I got nuts at car dealerships.
Yeah. I know.
So anyways, we're going to get into that later. But what I want to get into with you is, your obsession with Porsches and obviously Ferraris and car shows. Because I even run into you at some car shows with my father. We ran into each other at Celebration. That's an unbelievable show.
Yes, absolutely, yeah.
So
the guy who threw that show, he's a good friend of mine, and that's Spiro. And I never knew that he was the one that conducted that show out in Celebration. It's every last Saturday of the month. And he was coming across a 6-month anniversary. So I'm very involved in the car community and such. So he says, Ron, I'm always averaging about 20 people. Do you think you can help me out? And I said, sure. Sent some email out. I think we got 80 people there, all exotic cars, supercars. It was fantastic.
So you're telling me at Celebration right now they're doing that every month? Because I only know about the Make-A-Wish once a year. Oh, I didn't know that.
No, every last Sunday of the month. I'm sorry, not Saturday, Sunday of the month.
I got to tell my father because he loves that
Absolutely.
show. When he brings his car, he
Yeah.
wins awards at. He just won his last award at Davenport. He won best.
Oh, okay.
He won. They had
Yeah.
their own private one downtown. It was very quaint, and
Hmm.
I got to tell him about this Celebration thing because he loves the show at Celebration. Everyone loves it
Well,
there.
it's not. Well, it's not a celebration. It's at Old Town.
Oh, you do the old? Yeah, my father. We go to the
Yeah,
old
yeah.
town all the time.
That's
That's
a yeah. I went to. I met. That's right. I ran into you in the celebration show that time. But in Old Town, everyone knows they do the motorcycles and the hot rods on Saturdays. But
sure.
every last Sunday of the month, Spiro organizes the exotic car show there, and that's
Yeah.
on Old Town where the big Ferris wheel is. So there's no confusion.
Yeah, I've been to that numerous times. I've done videos on that. And I used to even know Frogger's
Yeah,
open up there. I used to hang out with the owner from Frogger's, George,
yeah, yeah,
which
yeah.
was cool. And
Mhm.
I also love Celebration because my buddy helps with the hotel there. What's that hotel there?
Yeah.
There's one downtown Orlando. What is that? It's a beautiful hotel.
I'm not even sure.
God dang it, I forget about it. But that's a beautiful hotel. If you're watching this, if you ever get a chance, you definitely want to visit Celebration, even though Disney kind of removed itself from there. Because I've been going there from its infancy, and it still looks like Disney to a certain degree, but it's definitely changed.
Oh yeah, yeah,
Um,
yeah, definitely.
so you mainly have Porsches, but you're a funny person because you love Ferraris. So,
I've
or both.
all my life I've been a Ferrari enthusiast until I came to the point and I said it's almost very difficult for me to own one on my own.
Okay.
So in the past, I've owned two Ferrari replicas, which were actually pretty cool cars. I still have in my garage, but they're pretty much project vehicles that are never ending. But then when it came to the point where I needed to have an extra car that had extra seats, because I have a 350Z as my daily driver, it's a convertible. I love the car, heavily modified, of course. I needed something with small seats in the back, so I bought a Porsche 911.
Mm-hmm.
And my passion for Ferrari is dwindling away because I'm learning more and more and loving more the reliability, the performance, and it's just very usable everyday type of car.
The Porsche, you're saying,
Yeah,
right?
yeah.
Yeah. Do you subscribe to that Porsche magazine?
Excellence. There's a couple of
Yes.
different ones, but
What's
I have
the high end one?
Excellence is
I think that's the one.
The Porsche Magazine, the high end one.
Yeah.
Because there is a couple. The Excellence is the one that I follow the most. Excellence is all about Porsches, only Porsches, from new to old, and tech stuff and stories and things like that. So
gotcha.
Yeah.
All right, so I keep hearing the beep, and it's the alarm in the backdrop. Okay, I thought it was in
Yeah.
like, what? Because it's so windy today. Sorry about this backdrop. Usually I like to go in my backyard where I got the palm trees or the pool.
I was going to do the same, but I said, no, just keep it inside. It'll be well lit. We should be fine. So
it's too windy. So I want to ask you something about Porsches too. I heard, I'm not sure if this is correct, that
yes,
Porsche is the most cherished car, the most saved car, the most refurbished car. Is any of that true regarding Porsche? Because I guess the durability and people love them. They don't just junk them. If people even find them in junkyards, they grab them.
Yeah. There's a couple of different Porsche companies that will take some of the older 911s, like their Singer 911. Singer's out. They're based out in California.
Okay.
They'll take a old car, strip it completely, take off fenders, take off bolts, take off everything just to leave the skeleton of the vehicle. Re-weld, do everything that they need to do to re-strengthen that chassis.
Yeah.
And then they will build it to the way that you want. And then they throw in a whole new engine. And because the older Porsches, like the old air-cooled engines, used to run on, like, let's say a 2.7 liter engine or a 3.2. What they've done is they've gone anything. When they first started, they were doing 3.8 liter engines, which just gives a little more power and robust. Now they're doing 4.0. And when you talk about power to weight ratio, the performance is fantastic. The balance is good. So you have Singer. You have other companies that will do similar, because Singer, when they're done with their cars, you're talking about a $500,000 refurbish.
Wow.
But you have practically something that's more than what Porsche gave back then, and something that's going to kind of perform with more modern braking, modern engine. So it's it'll keep up with most of the cars of today, basically.
Gotcha. Like if you watch like those 80s films, I forgot that one with Charlie Sheen, like those vintage Porsche.
Oh,
Like,
No Man's Land.
yeah, No Man's Land. Everyone, I love that movie for its time, right? And I think a lot of people grew
Yes.
up in the 80s wanting a Porsche because of that movie, amongst other reasons, right?
Yes.
My father used to have
Yes.
a Bricklin. I don't know if you remember that car, because my
Yes.
father loves collecting cars. But
Doors open out.
yeah, exactly. It's kind of like a
Yes.
DeLorean, but it's
Yeah.
fiberglass. But the
Correct. I'm a car guy, so I know them all basically.
yeah, we went to test a Porsche back in the early 80s, maybe. And my father goes, get ready. It's going to be like somebody punches you in the back, because the force and the torque, especially back in those days.
Yeah.
And you'd see sometimes in the 80s too, we'd go to like Daytona spring breaks and some guys would pull up at a Porsche and a Corvette or whatever. The Porsche would dust it.
Yes.
And I had a Grand National and that would dust me. I mean, it was just like sitting still, those cars.
Yeah.
Are those
it's ridiculous.
Yeah, those old cars now, those old Porsches, right? Those are still extremely valuable, and they're refurbishing. I mean, besides California in certain areas, like they're refurbishing those a lot still, correct?
Yeah. Most of those cars are kept well because the owners tend to love them. When you love your car, you take good care of it. So the thing is, the Porsche you're referring to is a turbo Porsche.
Yeah.
When it kicks you in, because the older Porsches, when you have a turbo Porsche, it's they used to call them the Widowmaker, because when your turbos spool in, it just knocks you. It just basically the torque just. Most people tend to lose control because they didn't know how to control that type of initial power that just kicks in, and a lot of people crashed, lost their lives, and things like that. So that car was, called the Widowmaker.
That's crazy.
Back then they didn't have traction control and things like that. The things
Right.
that really help, like the GTR today's.
Yeah.
Those cars are the easiest cars to drive because the computer does everything and controls everything for you. So it'll make a beginner, a novice driver, drive like a track star. So
I learned how to drive stick on a Porsche.
Yeah.
That's because there were, back in the 80s when I was parking cars in the mid 80s, there weren't, I mean, there were either crappy cars that had stick shift that you know what I mean, outdated, or they were extreme. So my buddy taught me how to drive stick on a Porsche. And ever since I learned on a Porsche that power, I got used to, when you learn with that power.
Oh, yeah.
And then you go to something else. It's so ridiculous. But even when you drove automatics, those were powerful. I mean, those were unbelievable, because those were, not many people in the 80s and even the 90s. I mean, now you see, in my opinion, a lot more Ferraris. But back then you seen them, and where I was from, Chicago and even Florida, you saw a lot more Porsche, in my opinion. I saw a lot more. So, of course there were Ferraris, but that was a very limited amount of people, I think.
Exclusive. It was an exclusive type of car. You'd have to, they don't just sell it to anybody. Now everything's changed, and they will sell it to almost anybody. And I think if you want one of the more modern Ferraris, there's a long waiting list because everyone orders theirs before they even come out with the new model. So if I hit the lotto, let's say I hit the mother load and I went to the Ferrari dealership to get a new car, who are you, sir? We don't know who you are. I don't care who, billions and no.
Right.
So I have to buy one of their initial base vehicles first to qualify to get the next model, So it's a little different how they do their business.
Wow, that's crazy. What was I going to ask you? It just jumped out of my head. Oh, the value compared to, you hear Lamborghinis all the time and how much because I even have relatives that have some Lamborghinis, and they claim they lose a lot of value. The insurance is astronomical on them. Obviously, the maintenance on these cars is astronomical. I'm sure it falls in line with the Ferrari, probably the Porsche as well.
Yeah, pretty much.
Right. When it comes, though, to, I heard out of Lamborghini or Porsche that Ferraris hold their value the best out of a lot of high-end cars. There's exclusive ones, of course, that are always going to hold their value. But say generally I went to buy a Porsche, Ferrari, or Lamborghini 2020, what's going to lose the most value, you think, or what's going to hold the best value?
Out of Porsche, Lamborghini, and Ferrari?
Yeah.
Ferrari will always hold its value because of how they've changed their business, how they sell their vehicles. They're exclusive. There's a couple of models that they make a lot of, so it makes it easier to come across. Mileage has a lot to do with it.
Sure.
Most people buy them back in the days, you buy a Testarossa. Meant any type of maintenance on that vehicle is engine out. So you have to put the car in a lift, drop the engine out to do any type of maintenance on it. So you're talking about $5,000 to $7,000 to $8,000, general simple maintenance and such. Whereas Lambo, you really didn't have to do any engine out type of stuff. But again, it depends on what model. So other Ferraris like the 348, the 355, you had to do engine out, and those were not as expensive. You could probably find a good 355 right now. That's in the 90s. That's a Ferrari from the 90s.
Yeah.
Something in the $80,000, $70,000 range, but your maintenance is $5,000 to $7,000 engine out. The 360 Modena, which came out in 2000, those were the first that they had a panel in the back of the seats that you could remove that panel and have access to your timing belts to change, which of course did not require engine out maintenance, which changed the pricing and made it a little more affordable. And the performance was always a little better too. So again, it's so many different variations, and the main thing is mileage and such. Lamborghini's on the intro. Different buyers for the Lamborghinis now than the Ferrari buyers. Ferrari buyers tend to be a little different and such.
Sure.
The Lambo guys tend to, the value of Lambos still hold well, but they're still, they're supercars, So they're always going to cost money. You're going to pay $100,000. If you look at a Gallardo, that's the V10, the first V10 that Lambo came out with, rear mounted. Those were considered possibly one of the most reliable cars, and the same thing with the new Huracans. The Huracans now, again, when it comes to reliability, that's the ones to get. But you can get a good mileage, something in the 50, 60,000 mile Lamborghini Gallardo, maybe in the 60, 70, 80,000s even. With some cars, something that's been driven, something that's been loved. Garage queens tend to, people that tend to keep their cars in the garage, and they say, well, in a couple of years, I'm going to sell it, but I'm not going to put miles on it. Before they sell it, they have to put money into it to refurbish it because of dry rot and things like that. So it ends up costing them 10 to 15 to 20,000 just to get it ready to sell, just because they did not drive that car. Same thing with the older cars. So if you want to buy a car, in my opinion, buy something that's been driven.
Of course.
Not abused. You want to get good records, service records, of course.
Sure.
You want to do a pre-purchase inspection, PPI. That's when you take it to a specialist, and they will basically let you know how everything is running on the vehicle to make sure that you don't have to buy it and then dish out money out of pocket to fix things that you weren't ready for, So, but to hold their value, I'd have to say Ferrari. The ones that basically that are affordable supercars are Porsches, So there's a controversy. People say that they're sports cars, not supercars, but I always get preferable parking when I go to the valet.
Sure.
So, yeah, I love it.
Yeah, and I think, too, when we go to these car shows like Festival of Speed and all those shows, when you think sometimes of a Ferrari, you're going to think about, Miami Vice with that white Testarossa. You still see that, or Magnum PI, those Ferrari. Those still hold pretty well value, right?
Well, there was a time back in 2000 something, early 2000s, the Testarossa, because of the maintenance cost, the value was going down. I mean, I've heard of Testarossas going for $35,000.
Holy shit.
Yeah, really ridiculous. And, people just didn't want to pay the maintenance costs. They drove them, and when things start to break, it costs a lot of money. V12s will break your bank, basically. Then market changed, and Testarossas were going for over 150, 170,000. Right now it's kind of bottomed out to about $100,000, I think, from the last that I've seen. I knew someone selling his Testarossa for, I think he was asking $80,000 for it. And his car's in pristine condition. I mean, he takes care. He's a local guy too. but now he tends to drive it a little bit more than let it sit, so which is good. So yeah.
Yeah, that's crazy because I live in the Metro West Windermere area, so we see a lot of different cars. You know, obviously from
Sure.
Audis to Ferraris to Lambos to everything in between.
Mm-hmm.
I think I
Mm-hmm.
see who's the baseball player? Ken Griffey Jr. cruising around. Um,
Mm-hmm.
do you on OBT and Colonial Drive? There's that dealership. It's exclusive. My buddy's friend. I forgot what the name of that is. Anyways, from what I
I'm trying to
understand,
remember.
that's all right. I can't remember it either. A lot of these wealthy guys, let's face it, they get these cars and they get bored with them, right? They claim like after 6 months to a year, right? And they kind of just, even professional athletes or wealthy people, it's kind of becomes something.
Right.
They don't even care if they lose value. They kind of interchange their cars, right? Sometimes a little bit.
For their image, basically. Yeah. They change them out and things like that.
It's interesting because I could see getting bored with, no matter what car I've gotten, and I've had some really nice cars as well, I'm not going to lie. It does become where after a certain amount of time, it's just a car, right? It's almost like you want to experiment with another car to a certain, like you got to commit. Like when you commit to a car, a lot of people, we're so used to 46 years. But when you start buying sports cars, it's almost addictive, and I've had,
Oh yeah. Oh yeah. It's a problem because I'm a different type of sports car kind of guy. I buy things that I like and I have no intentions of letting them go because I'm like a car hoarder, if you want to say that. I'll keep it. And then when I want something new, I'll get something else to add to the collection, basically. That's usually the goal. But when it comes to some people, I know guys at their cars as long as I've known them. And they just either get others and they don't. It's just that sometimes you get a little bored of the performance and you want more. So that's how some people do it. I've basically modified my Porsche so this way I don't, I'm not a super wealthy guy or anything like that. I'm just a regular schmo that, placed myself and did some things, and I ended up getting a Porsche 911 and I absolutely love it. So I've modified a couple of things on my car to basically give me that fresh new feeling all over again,
Yeah. Do you think it's better to invest, like say you're the average Joe again out there, and as you know, a lot of times you can even buy a Corvette or you could buy even a Mercedes, whatever the case may be, and they depreciate, right? Let's call it for what it is. A lot of those cars, especially if you're paying interest on them, car payments, whatever. Do you think it'd be better for people, even though it's harder to get a loan, but getting kind of a vintage car or a car that actually is appreciating compared to depreciating? Would it be, you think, a better investment to do that? But I know, again, the maintenance when it comes to that sometimes is a pain in the ass too, though. But my point being is a lot of people end up upside down in a lot of cars, as you know, even sports cars. And I'm not talking Lambos or Ferraris. I'm just talking mid-level sports cars you buy for 50, 60, 70, even 80, whatever. And before you know it, in 5 years, it's worth 20 grand, right? And you still owe 40 or whatever the amount. You think it'd be better for somebody to go buy? Yeah. Would you think it'd be a better investment for people now to start buying older cars and that can appreciate? So say a Grand National that I used to own, that seems to be constantly gaining some traction every year. Same with maybe certain.
Now it's gaining, exactly.
Right. I'm just using that for an example. Do you think it'd be better for people to start investing in old cars instead of always buying new and getting, hit with a car that depreciates?
Absolutely. I mean, it depends again on the person and what they're trying to do. For me, if you're buying a car, that, like they said, the old adage is you drive off the lot, you lose $5,000 instantly.
Yeah.
That has nothing to do with the depreciation of a car because you just paid a boatload of money for the car. It has to do, I think, with the insurance, because if you crash a car, the insurance will pay a certain amount. They don't want to pay the full amount. So that's become what the car depreciated value is, basically. So for me, I people that just want the latest and the greatest will pay full pop. They're wealthy. If they know they're going to lose some money, it's no big deal. Like, I'm going to use Tesla as an example. Tesla came out with the P100s, basically. And if you get with the D, then you have that super ludicrous mode in there and everything. Those cars were selling for $100,000, $120,000 brand new. Fastest electric car around, which is great. You can get them used right now for $35,000. And right now that car is what, 3 to 4 to 5 years old. So it's not like to depreciate that far down, you're still making payments, if you went to
Sure.
finance it. So my thing is, if you're that guy that really wants that car, buy used at 40, 50 grand, then you don't get depreciation hit that much, and you're still
Sure.
getting the enjoyment of the vehicle and all, and reliability still, because it's still fairly new, opposed to getting an older vintage car. If you want to get an older vintage car, my Porsche is a 2006, and sticker price on the car was $110,000, because it's a convertible and it's the leather, it has all the nice options in there. You could find a car like that now. I bought my car 5 years ago, but you could find a car like that now, an 06 with some miles on it, in the 30s, in the 40s. So
Right.
again, and you drive anywhere, you're driving a Porsche. They don't look at the year. You're
Yeah.
Porsche owner, you're a Porsche owner. That's how the Porsche community works.
Mm-hmm. Do you think now, because I've been to auctions and stuff, and there's always the thing that comes up, are you better off buying it at auction, at a dealership? And obviously when you buy at an auction, you have to pay for everything in total. It's not like you can finance. I mean, you could get a loan before that but you have to pay for it outright when you get to the auction, when you're bidding it on it, right? Do you think
Right now, auction purchase is a little different, because when you're buying from an auction, you really sometimes don't really know what you're getting.
Sure.
I know they have specific auctions like Mannheim and Barrett-Jackson, where they're a little more exclusive, and you have history on the car, then you're going to pay basically top dollar, even though it's just at an auction. You have a couple of people that you're going to bid against, and especially limited number cars and vintage cars, you're going to pay some money for those things.
I was just at that. I didn't go to the show, but it was going on while I was in Scottsdale last time I flew in that show. Mm-hmm. And I said, why is everything so expensive? Like rental cars. They didn't have anything available. They wanted $250 a day. I'm like, what the hell's going on here?
The
Barrett Jackson show, the one on TV. Yeah, those are exclusive auctions. How about, I'm talking maybe what I should have said is more kind of a local, like Orlando has a huge auction, as you know, or, auctions all over the country.
The Ocoee auction.
Ocoee,
definitely.
Yeah. When you go there, would you be better off buying a sports car, you think, there? And I get that you don't know what you're buying, but a lot of times there are some incredible deals when it comes to sports cars, and all types of cars. But compared to going to a dealership, what do you think about that? Like, what would you, if...
Well, the benefit of when you go to a dealership, let's say you go to like my dealership, it's a full-fledged Hyundai dealership. Mm-hmm. We have certified mechanics, and occasionally they do pick up some vehicles at the auction because of specialty cars they're looking for. All of our cars, when they go through the auction, they do go through an inspection process. We have to look at the chassis, make sure it's not twisted. We'll look at certain things to make sure that we're comfortable to resell that car. Mm-hmm. Whereas when you're buying at an auction, if you don't know what you're looking for, and you just, I think you have the opportunity to hear the engine and open the hood. If you don't know what you're looking for, you really don't know what you're getting. Right. In addition to that, you have no service records on some of these cars. Some people keep them in the glove box, but some people don't. And they just, my car is serviced well, but I keep all my stuff in the pockets. But aside from that, when they take a car from an auction, they'll clean everything out and then just sell the car with no papers or anything, at some auctions, because they have to take everyone's, your personal information out of the vehicle, so they don't want to have your names or anything like that.
Right.
So it's the catch-22. You'll get a good deal if you're hands-on with your vehicle and you feel comfortable enough to buy a car, and you buy it low enough to protect yourself on the repairs that you're going to have to do and to update. You want to change your brakes, you want to change your oil, you want to maybe even change your spark plugs, so that it's done now, and not happen to drive it and then it's, of course, things start to fail on you because you didn't do your due diligence, or you didn't change them out when you should have. So that's auctions are okay to buy, but it really is you just got to be careful.
Yeah, and I heard a lot of those cars at the auction. I'm not sure, not all of them, but a lot of them I heard have the frames are damaged, and they don't kind of talk about that, or they were obviously in accidents or reconstructed. Because even I remember when I got my Grand National, I had a cracked frame, and I never was even informed of that. I guess somebody got in a real bad accident, but we realized my my front windshield, it started to split. And then we took it in, they replaced the front windshield, but then my dad's buddy was a mechanic, goes, they have to take this in because I guess when they re-welded it, they didn't weld it correctly. It wasn't Right, but they never even informed us
No.
of the damage. And I think, is that something that's kind of common with a lot of sports cars? You think that there is damage, and kind of hide that when purchasing?
Well, most people that buy sports cars, they buy them to drive them and drive them hard. That's
Sure.
what they're going to do.
Of course.
Some people do track their cars and they take them on tracks. And, I belong to Porsche Club of America, the PCA.
Mm-hmm.
And one thing they do is they have their days that they, on the weekends that they do. Because Porsche, to me, as far as I've seen, is one of the most active car clubs out of all the car clubs. You can have Ferrari, Lambo, Maserati. Ferrari guys brag about how low their miles are. Porsche guys brag about how many miles they have on their car because they drive their. Yeah, it's incredible.
Right.
So the thing that they'll track their cars, and sometimes my biggest fear about tracking a car is every lap you do, you say, "Man, I could go a little faster. I can go a little faster." You want to beat your time.
Mm-hmm.
Next thing you know, you're sliding into a wall. That is my biggest fear.
Sure.
So you slam into a wall and then you fix it, and it's fine. But then those guys will say, "Hey, no big deal. I'll fix it, drive a little more, and then I'll sell it and I'll get another one. No big deal." So sometimes you have to make sure you know the history of that car to see if you're getting something that's crashed. Now, if you're I have a buddy of mine looking for a 911 right now too. Mm-hmm. He has a budget. So sometimes with that budget, you're okay with getting something with higher miles. Sometimes you say, well, if I get this is going to be a keeper for me as well. Maybe you're okay with buying a car that had a little accident history. Mm-hmm. But again, those are things that you have to consider because now when you go to resell that car's going to have higher miles. Car's going to have that accident history. And then that next buyer may have an issue with that. May not want to pay what you're asking, even though the car's still a good car. For me, every car is a good car. If you're driving on snow and you don't see 4 tire patches, you're good. If you see the 2 because everything's lined up and it was done well, done professionally, then you should be fine.
Yeah, when Porsche went, what's it, a Cheyenne? Is that what they call that? Bigger car.
Oh, the Cayenne.
The
SUV, yes.
I screw everything up. First
you're fine.
They first had the Porsche and it was a little bigger. Right, the longer one, more to
that's the Panamera. The Panamera is the 4-door.
Yes,
and the Cayenne, and that's the SUV, which kind of saved Porsche because people, nowadays you see more SUVs. Every car company has an SUV.
Yeah, because my friends have those. Yeah, they love those. Yeah. They wanted the car. They first were thinking of getting the car. But then once you came out the SUV, they jumped on that. And I was going to ask you, wasn't that because that seems like a very popular car, obviously, right now.
They're all over the place. And then they've even come out with the Macan, which is a slightly smaller SUV. Mm-hmm. They say you get a Macan Turbo S, it's going to drive like a 911, even though it's an SUV. So now a car like that, if you get one pre-owned, you'll spend less money on it, but the performance is all there, and you will never regret that car. If you're the SUV family, you put your kids in the back. So that's definitely something that can work. But the Panamera also is another big savior to Porsche. In the beginning, when they first came out, I think they came out in 09 or 08. Don't quote me on that. But the back was the big controversy because the back looked almost like an egg. And I didn't like it.
I don't think a lot of people like the look of that.
Yeah, the new one is fantastic now because it literally looks like a 911 cut in half, stretched with 4 doors, and that the lines are beautiful and all that good stuff. But nowadays, I think that look of the old egg back on the original Panameras has really grown on me, and I actually can appreciate them now a little more than I did when they first came out.
Yeah, I just saw that Rolls Royce
SUV. I forgot what it's called.
It's like an extended version. It's a big one, though. It's a big SUV. It's a beast. I saw it in Windermere. Yeah. Holy shit!
Oh yeah,
goddamn
huge. I have a friend of mine who just bought a Rolls. He bought the 2-door Rolls, and that's really nice also because that's like the suicide doors and all that. Mm-hmm. But I went to see the Rolls Royce because Rolls Royce is already a big car in itself.
Oh yeah.
So the SUV just is humongous, but it's really not my cup of tea because I'm not an SUV luxury type guy. I like performance, and that's what moves me basically.
Do those cars hold their value like each one of those Porsche styles you're mentioning, do those each hold their value equally kind of to a certain point, or is kind of one that, like, you know, SUV decline
they do
quicker,
well.
or do they hold their value a little bit? Because
Yeah,
I
I
don't think
mean,
a lot of people even
they
know.
all hold their value because it's Porsche. But you know what, in your definition, is holding your value?
Sure.
Because you know you could buy a Porsche Panamera, 80 grand, brand new, base model almost. You know, then you add some turbos and things like that. You're into almost 200 grand basically for a nice turbo with the electric engine and all that combined and all. So, but then when you get it pre-owned, I've heard that an early model Turbo S, black on black, is a guy that I follow on YouTube, Hoovie's Garage. He bought one for $6 grand at an auction, a turbo.
Wow.
Yeah,
Timing's everything,
but
right?
now he's the kind of guy that timing is everything. You know, maybe it was a rainy day, nobody came out that day, no one
Sure.
bid for it, he got it. You know, so. But it had some little slight issues. But after he fixed it, it was a great car, and then he resold it. That's what he does for his channel. He buys cars that are what he called hoopties, and then hoopty exotic cars, basically. And he fixes them up and sells them. But he bought that for $6 grand, and I was like, wow, even I can get that.
It's kind of funny because my buddy owns one of the largest Johnson's Towing in all of Orlando, Junior Johnson, and he used to pick up cars where people like,
Yes.
say, drug dealers or whoever the hell, felons, whatever, but a lot of them
Yes.
pay for their cars cash,
Yes.
and then they get arrested, they get put in the joint, and then he tows it, and then if no one claims it, I'm pretty sure after a certain amount of time, he puts a lien on it. Then after a certain amount of time, if he wants, he owns it, or he can send it to the auction. And whatever they get, he gets cash for it, or he keeps them and flips them. And sometimes I would think maybe at that auction, somebody may have had that car. They don't. It's nothing to them or whatever. They just take whatever they could get for that car. I'm just wondering if that's kind of a weird thing with towing companies, which is kind of amazing in itself. All of a sudden, you pick up these cars and no one claims them. They go to jail or go to another country. They flee, especially places in Florida. Happens all the time.
Oh yeah. Oh yeah. I mean, right now, I think I think it's Dubai or, I can't remember, but I think it's Dubai or one of these places. People have exotic cars and they abandon them in the streets.
I heard of that too.
Yeah, and then you can go around, you'll see the dust all over the place. And these are cars that they just decided, you know what, I don't want it no more. Take his plates, walk away from the vehicle. And I'm like, let me find something like that here, you know. But they're all over the place. So I don't know whether that's going to be the next biggest thing, where you buy it from there and then you take it and ship it here refurbished, depending on what the modifications you have to do now to pass emissions in the US. So whether it's worth it, I think it would still be worth it, because if you're buying a car that was just abandoned, you probably pay a lot less for it. But there's a guy, Royalty Exotics. He's in Las Vegas.
Mm-hmm.
He has 2 Bugattis.
Okay.
So one of his Bugattis, he had removed the panels and put these now exclusive, really crazy panels on it. So he's selling just the panels of his Bugatti, the fenders, without the doors, the fenders, the hood, the rear, the side fenders, all the panels. I think he's asking $150,000 for just the panels.
Wow.
Just the panels. So when you buy in a car, you got to be careful too. Expense on parts. You know, you don't want to go over your budget, because then you might as well just find a car that works and you just buy it and that's it.
Yeah.
So, but buying a car like that's been abandoned or crashed, people are doing it all the time now. And I think that's the next biggest thing is, there's a lot of cars that were tracked, that were hit and put to the side, and people are taking them, doing everything with them,
I'm in Canada a lot, and I don't know if this is wrong, I may be screwing this up, but in Vancouver, they're one of the most, they purchase the most luxury cars, like in the world or something. Like, I don't know which specific car, but there's so many people in Vancouver buy all different types of high-end cars. And it's amazing. I don't know if you've been there, but if you go there, obviously there's a ton of money there. You'll see people driving and they got Rolls Royce dealerships. They're not small. They're beasts.
Right.
And you see all these different dealerships that someone told me, it's a funny thing in Vancouver. Like they're like the most expensive cars purchased, but at the same time, they show the least amount of money or like for taxes. Like it's a weird, like it doesn't make any sense what they show they make and what they're purchasing. It's kind of wall with Canada. That was just something I heard. I don't know if you ever heard of that, but when I am there, I mean, there's so many damn luxury cars there, it blows you away.
Wow.
For kind of
it is.
So let's jump into you now. What I discussed with you a little earlier is kind of the future of car dealers. We're not, and when I say this, I don't mean wealthy guys that could buy whatever car they want. And they don't give a shit about
the regular just
devaluing. Most people, like my father used to say, if you can't burn $100 in front of you, if you burn $100 in front of you, if it affects you, you don't deserve a sports car. Like that was his saying. Like if money affects you, you don't deserve these cars, right? If you're worrying about the car devaluing, you probably shouldn't have a car. I mean, it was kind of his.
You shouldn't buy it. Yeah. It's like dabbling with the stock markets. If you're afraid and you're always watching, it's not for you then, you know?
If you're worried about the maintenance on a Ferrari, Porsche, whatever, then you probably shouldn't buy it, right? And
don't do it.
Right. If the tires, for instance, or if an oil change, the price of that aggravates you, again, you don't deserve the car. Just saying.
Absolutely.
But let's just say, forget that shit. We get that. I'm talking about just regular people now buying cars, dealing with the Corona situation. I don't want to get in depth with Corona. What are you going through at the dealership a little bit, if you could tell me? Has it taken a major hit? What do you think the future of buying cars is going to be like? Credit scores look a little different because everyone's losing their jobs. You know, you're probably seeing something.
Yeah.
How's that going?
It's funny because our dealership in the car business, it's everything's always okay. Don't worry, it'll get better. Don't worry, it'll get better. We understand that we have to be motivated, and I understand the mentality. But when you look at the decline in the business, because in my store, I work for a Hyundai dealership in Claremont. It's a 3-year-old dealership, so it's brand new, basically.
It's mint.
Yes, it really
mint.
is.
When you even drive past it, it's gorgeous.
It's gorgeous. You need to stop by, though.
I know. I
it's
see
fantastic.
It doesn't look like a regular Hyundai dealership. You know what I mean? It looks
no
like no nonsense.
Out of 993 dealerships nationwide, Hyundai Corporation in Korea said our dealership was by far the best platform that they've ever seen. So they've raised the bar for all the other Hyundai stores, and they said you've got to kind of emulate what these guys are doing because they've really made it right. So our store, out of the 3 years, we're getting just new business. We don't have so much return business of people saying my car's 3-year lease is over or 4-year. This year is where we're going to start to see that. But we were at one point 23 in the nation in car sales.
Okay.
Out of 909. That's an awesome feat for a new store.
Sure.
And that's just with new business, like I said, not return business. So when all this broke out, we see a decline, but we're not the only one that's been hit. Everybody's been hit. Everything is slow, but we do get an influx of customers that come in. Like, for instance, this weekend, we were standing room only. I mean, we had people in the store. They were buying cars. I couldn't believe it. You know, I'd rather be home with my girls safe, but you know, we're considered essential, so we had to be there, and I'm okay with it when things are happening. When nothing is happening, that's when you start to get a little bothered by it. But we're constantly we're selling 10 to and up per day or so, so we're still selling a lot of cars.
Are people buying them online too, more because of this Corona situation too, or is that what they're doing as well?
Two things: Corona and Carvana. So Carvana has a thing where when you buy a car, this is prior to any of this even happening, Carvana would deliver. And then, you know, they put the car on a flatbed, deliver, you do the paperwork. People tend to like that because now they're not at the dealership. Like you said, some people rather go to the dentist and get their tooth extracted instead of coming to a dealership, you know? Yeah. And it's true. But I try to make it pleasant because I think I'm a car guy and I want you to have fun in the process. So I have a lot of fun with my clients as we go forward with everything. But now with masks, sanitizing, and all of that stuff, people don't want to come to the dealership. So our dealership is accommodated, and we said part of our thing, if you look at our website, we'll deliver the car to you. We'll bring it to you. We'll first make sure that you qualify. First, make sure that your credit is right. First, we get your approval. Then we'll drop it off and we'll deliver it. Mask, gloves in hand, so this way you're safe and you feel comfortable.
Yeah. Are you working out deals with that with people? Because for instance, say somebody wants a new car and they were laid off, they're furloughed. Do you have some wiggle room there now? Like credit scores too? People's credit scores are going to take a hit to a certain degree where.
Yeah, right now, just like it's business as usual because your credit still has to be good to buy a car.
Sure.
It's just it's the banks that want it, not us. We want to sell a car, so we don't care.
Right.
But the banks, before they take the risk of sending the money to pay for that car, then you have to pay them back. They just want to make sure that you're not a flight risk, basically. So, the credit has to be good. Our Hyundai, what they're doing is 120 days before your first payment. But you do have to qualify for that. You have to make sure your credit is good because, despite people, what's the word, not being able to work, some people still have money in the bank. Some people could still say, I can support myself. If you're buying a car, it's because you're comfortable that you can afford it, even in this time. So they have to still qualify, but, at the end of the day, we've had some people with some challenge credit.
Sure.
Want to buy a car at 0%. They want to buy a car and not pay for 120 days because I'll find a job by then. It just doesn't work that way.
Right. Yeah. Obviously, that doesn't work at all. What is Hyundai's big angle? My dad's a Hyundai guy, I think. Don't you offer, I don't want to screw this up, 100,000 miles, maintenance-wise? What is the whole
powertrain?
What is that whole thing? I'm trying to remember. I didn't purchase one, but he's discussed these things.
Get your paper and pencil out because it's a lot. So most car companies will give the normal 3-year, 36,000 mile on the powertrain warranty. No, on the bumper to bumper, and then the 5-year 60 powertrain, and then that's it. Yeah. Hyundai, by far the best warranty in the car industry, basically.
That's what they're known for, right? That's what I'm talking about.
That's what they're known for.
That's the 100,000,
5 years. Well, it's 5 years, 60 bumper to bumper, what we call the new car warranty. That's anything mechanical, electrical. Then you get the 10-year, 100,000 mile on your powertrain, engine, transmission, anything that touches oil, basically. Then you get 5 years, unlimited mileage on roadside assistance anywhere in the United States. They'll tow you, bring you to the closest Hyundai dealership. They drop you off. That part is not going to be there for 2 days. So now you have road interruption because you're sitting there. It has to be more than 150 miles away from your home. So Hyundai will pay for road interruption warranty as well. So they'll pay for your hotel. They'll pay for your food up to $500.
Wow.
On that. Yeah. So if you're traveling across to the Midwest and halfway car breaks down, they're covering your hotel, your food.
I don't even remember when I had a Caddy and a Lincoln, them offering that. I don't remember them ever. I remember them. They'll bring you a Caddy. Like when I had a Caddy, they would bring you another Caddy, and I would get in, and you could get that Caddy, and then they deal with it. But I don't ever remember anybody offering what you're offering.
Oh yeah, and then there's 7 years for perforation, which is rust. If you scratch your paint and it rusts, that's on you. But if you're start to develop rust or bubbling underneath your paint, that means it's something that's compromised there. They're covering it for 7 years, unlimited mileage. So then as of February 1st of 2020, which just passed, this is something new with Hyundai, any new Hyundais purchased after February 1st, they're going to do 3 years, 36,000 miles, oil changes and tire rotations.
That's whack.
It's ridiculous. It's ridiculous. Great. So Hyundai is killing it right now.
Yeah, and your car, that Genesis, because that car is a beast, right? Because I remember when I brought the original 2004 Chrysler Hemi 300, right? That was like the car of the year, and everyone went crazy for it. And in my opinion, it seems like in this day and age, like the Genesis took that kind of spot, right? Because it's so beautiful. It almost looks... like is it a Bentley? Is it a Rolls? It has its own look, but it looks high-end, whatever it is. That it reeks.
It more than looks high-end. It is high-end. That car is amazing. My thing is, in a couple of years, I'm going to get a G70 with the 3.3 twin turbo, 3.3 liter V6 twin turbo. That car right now outperforms my 911. It's ridiculous. My car's faster, but the 0 to 60, the performance on that car is ridiculous, and it's technologically advanced with all of the safety features that's required nowadays: automatic stopping, lane, departure warning,
Everything.
intelligent cruise control, everything. So the entry level vehicle is the G70. The mid-range is the new G80 that's coming out. They're re-changing the body. If you want to look it up, look up 2021 G80.
Okay.
Blow you away. And then the flagship vehicle, which is more of the Highline Bentley type competitor, would be the G90. And then this year, they're finally coming out with their own SUV, which is the GV80, followed by the GV70. So the GV80 is based on the G80 platform, which is a larger SUV. And then, of course, the GV70 is going to be based on the G70 platform. And they're coming out with 2 new engines for those cars, the 2.5 liter turbo instead of the 2.0.
Right.
They're changing it. And then now they're coming out with the 3.5 liter twin turbo opposed to the 3.3 twin turbo. And then they're also going to have the V8 engine as well. So
it's unbelievable. My buddy Kyle, who's obsessed with cars, he works for a dealership as well. Maybe he's in parts. He's all over. And all he does is talk about cars, sells cars throughout his entire. He's like, if there's ever a car to buy, it's the Genesis, the one that that's loaded. He's like, don't short yourself. Go with the black.
Don't.
All power.
Heads up display.
Yeah,
you want it all.
Looks like a cockpit in an airplane. Anyways, that's his thing, man. He's like, and he also thinks for the value, it holds value, and obviously, like you're saying, the service is unbelievable. He loves those cars. So, unbelievable. That's your gig. That is your gig.
Yeah,
over there.
Yeah,
I got to get over there. That thing looks unbelievable. That dealership.
Anytime we'll go for a test drive, you will be wowed, especially by the G70. The G80 is great, but that's more of a bigger luxury car. I know you like bigger cars. You like to feel, that roominess. But if you want a tight feeling car that's made for the back roads, and that car is Nürburgring track tested basically for the G70, and it's phenomenal performance on that vehicle.
Yeah, for sure. Have you heard, I'm going to wrap it up soon because I like to keep these at an hour, and I want to have you as a reoccurring guest.
Yeah.
Have you heard anything about any shows coming up? Like, obviously they're all closed because of Corona right now. Are you hearing anything as far as even, car shows? Now, I don't mean the ones me and you go to, the kind of the local ones. I'm talking like the ones that are at the convention center, the McCormick Place in Chicago, the big car shows where they're getting ready to release the 2021s and all that. How is that? Are they canceling those? And is that going to really have a huge impact on the public? You can only see them online. I don't mean to throw all those questions. Yeah, right. I mean, because
I got answers to everything.
Yeah, those shows are coming up, and I go to some of those shows along with boat shows. But if the public doesn't get to see them either online or go personally, because it has a huge impact on people. How's that?
So the thing is, the Geneva Car Show is probably one of the biggest car shows of the year.
Okay.
And that's where they introduce a lot of the 2021 models of everything from Ferrari down to Volkswagen. I mean, they show everything basically. So, of course, due to Corona, they were just getting ready. I mean, they were literally loading the arenas with the cars.
Yeah.
And then everything had to be canceled. So they had to take the cars back. So what they've done to kind of they still want to show their cars out because that's how they market it. And then they get them ready for the year.
Sure.
To be sold. They've gotten in touch with some prominent YouTube people with the highest subscribers, and basically said, "Hey, I want you to review our car." So even before they got rid of remove them from their location at Geneva, they would invite those people over while they had the backing and all of that staging set up that they spent thousands and hundreds of thousands of dollars to set up.
Yeah.
The YouTubers would use that. So one of the popular YouTube guys, or Shmi, he got to talk about a couple of different cars because he's very exact. He's very
detail oriented,
precise with
specific
his information. Yeah, very detail oriented with his information. And he's one of the better guys. He's been doing it for 10 years. So they've invited him. They invited a couple of what is it, the Mr. JWW. They had him out there. They had a couple of, like I said, a lot of guys where they just sat, reviewed the cars. They didn't get to drive them because they were indoors, but they got to open them, sit them, just talk about the vehicles. So another guy that I follow also, he was given, they bought the car to him, to his house. So now he was able to drive on the back roads, isolated, with their, distancing and all that stuff. But he was in the car. He was able to drive. He's from California. So he recently got to review some of the cars. So people are looking at the cars online because they cannot really go to the locations and stuff like that. So
I was actually thinking on the flip side, if you couldn't go to these shows, the convention shows, and those, it would actually help the dealerships, because now a lot of people, I think, go to those car shows, but wouldn't go to the dealership to buy them or whatever, or see them. Where in your case, maybe they can't go to the conventions. They can now, if you want to see the new Genesis, you can't go to a show like that. You got to go to the dealership to see it.
Right.
So, which I think I thought maybe help different dealerships as far as volume now, because like I said, a lot of times, a lot of us depend on saying, hey, even if it's Miami or wherever, let's go to the big show and we'll see every damn car. And then the ones we may or may not like, or maybe never even go to a dealership. But now it's kind of a little old school, where you got to go to the dealership to see it. So
you got to go to the dealership, but the thing is that's changing, because there's so much information online that you can go to YouTube, you do reviews.
Of course,
you can knock out the cars that you don't want. When you come to the dealership, it's specifically to get the feel of the vehicle and just drive it, because you basically pretty much narrowed it down. They say people now visit 1.2 dealerships. I don't know where they get the 0.2 from, but it's 1.2 dealerships to make their final decisions, because they've done all their research online.
Absolutely.
So and it makes it just easier because they already know what they want. So now what that does is it's forced the salesperson to be a lot more knowledgeable about their car, because that guy's going to come in and have questions that online he couldn't get answers to.
Sure.
So he's going to smell it. When you start to BS and you don't know, they're going to walk. And that's going to affect your deal. That's going to affect the store. You have to know what you're talking about, especially with a product like Genesis, where the competitors are BMW, Mercedes, Infiniti, Jaguar, Range Rover, when you're looking at the SUVs, basically. So if you're got that guy that's looking for that type of car, he's going to know his stuff. Now you got to wow him for him to say, I'm going to buy a Genesis. Yeah. So before people go to the car shows, like you're saying, they touch the car and they feel it, because they had no intentions of looking at a Genesis. And they look at it and say, what is this? Then they go look at the car, sit the car. Then they were like, well, I'm going to come in and drive it. Sure. So the car shows really help the dealerships, with their promotions. And again, when you have a new product like the new GV80 that's coming out, the new SUV, no one's really going to get to sit in it now. So now they kind of have to come to the dealership if they have that interest on that vehicle. If they don't know about it, they won't know, because they would have seen it at the car show. So we'll see what happens.
Wait, I had one more question before I get rid of you. You get rid of me. New Corvettes. They keep comparing it to kind of like a Ferrari. Is it that? I mean, I've seen videos on it. I haven't. Have I seen it up close? I don't know. I see so many damn cars. But is that comparable? I know people talk about it. Is it a beast like they say it is? Because, a lot of times Corvettes, they lose their value like crazy, and then they come up with, there's always whatever. What do you, what's your take on the Corvette?
I've always been a car guy, but I've always been into the foreign car market.
Okay.
I like Japanese cars. I love German cars. I love Italian cars. Okay. Never was I ever in love with American domestic cars. I'm, nothing against American cars, just not my thing.
Yeah.
Mustangs have a great history because, they've been around for years and they have that history and that following.
Sure.
Same with Corvette. 1957, I think, was when the first Corvettes came out, the C1s, to all the way to the C7s, front engine, the new C8 rear engine changed the game.
Sure.
Because of it, I guess the weight of the engine in the back with the rear wheel drive, the traction for takeoff is incredible. So now you're talking about, if you get that certain package, that next level package up, you get bigger brakes and some tweaking on the suspension. Your 0 to 60 is at 2.9 seconds on a 495 horsepower V8 engine. Whereas Ferrari, which has the V12s front mounted, doing about 0 to 60 the same thing. And I'm talking about 600 horses, 700 horses. And this is just the base Corvette at starting at 60. And when you get a couple of options, you can get up to about 80 grand and still have a car that looks like a McLaren, performs like a McLaren, keeps up with any of the Ferraris or Porsches out there. They no longer make that car with the stick shift, so it's all paddle shifting and all.
Yeah.
So I think they borrowed and copied a little bit of what Porsche's done with their PDK, because they say the speed when you shift those gears, it's instantaneous, which is what made Porsche really popular with their PDK transmission. So this new transmission is incredible. So I tell anyone, if you don't have uber money to buy a Ferrari or Porsche or anything, jump on that Corvette. You will absolutely love it. I've seen the car a couple of times. I've seen it on the road. I know one of my guys that we drive with just got one as well. So I'm waiting to see one myself and go driving with them. Incredible car.
Yeah, it looks incredible, that car. It's beautiful too. It's beautiful.
Yes. Yes.
Did you see Ford versus Ferrari? That's one of the best movies of the year. You got to go see it if you didn't.
Let me tell you, I tried to watch it the other day, and then I had to go out, and I had to stop. I haven't watched it since. I think I'm going to watch it today.
You'll love it. Yeah. It's great.
I know. I know the history of Carroll Shelby and Ferrari. I knew it prior to the movie coming out. Sure. But to watch it, they say I have to watch it, and I think I'm going to watch it today.
It's great. All right, brother. Thank you so much for being on here. You're so knowledgeable with this stuff. It's unbelievable. I love talking to you.
It's a drug for me.
Yeah, it is.
For me, so.
It is, my man. Yeah. It is. It is. Well, tell you what. Is that your girlfriend? Is it your wife?
Abby.
Abby. Tell her I said hello.
I will. Hopefully, I have you and your partner over as well. Come and eat. Abby is a fantastic cook, and nothing fits me anymore because of her.
Let's do it. I love it. Let's get nuts. I'm there, brother. Yeah, whatever you want.
All right. Yeah, awesome. Anytime, man. We'll go for a drive in the Porsche, and so you get to feel it, see what you think about it too.
Hell yeah, I'm a bad driver. I'm the worst best driver. I've always said. If that makes any sense. I don't know if that makes any sense. That's what I've said about myself.
In your mind, you're great.
I've put millions of miles on cars because I collected money from basically like 15 years old till I was 40, just driving routes, collecting money in and out of bars, nightclubs, gentlemen's clubs. And then I travel so much. If I'm not flying, I drive. So like I'll literally spend 3 weeks driving 7,000 miles. Like it's crazy the miles sometimes I put.
Yes.
But I'm the worst best driver. I don't know how. I'm all defense, but I'm bad. I just think I own the road. I don't care. Too many years behind the wheel.
Hey.
All right, brother.
Right car for it now. You get yourself a Porsche. You'll love it.
I'll be dead tonight. I like it. All right, Ronnie. I will talk to you later, brother. Thank you again. Let's touch base soon.
Anytime.
All right.
Thanks for having me on your show, and I wish you much success with it. And definitely, anytime you want to talk to me again, I'm always going to be available for you.
All right. Thank you so much. All right, brother. Peace out. Sure.